What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. The Triple H era continues as Ciampa challenged Bobby Lashley for the US Championship. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of the Bread Brand, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including could there be a big change for Clash at the Castle, another WWE star coming back, WWE adding violent content, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Bayley is back. Bayley is back and her mic skills are hotter than ever, as she demonstrated during her opening promo. Wrestling's role model explained the reasons for her return, because the fans were lost without her and to restore the hunger for the women's division. Bayley asked how she was the only person to realize what a lethal weapon Io Sky is and how dangerous Dakota Kai is. This was Bayley at her best, as she explained everything in a condescending manner fans have come to expect, while also finding time to insult the fans at home and in the audience, reminding everyone why she's such a great heel. Number 2, cool continuity. Now we praise the Triple H era for bringing back some of the things that make pro wrestling great, one of them being how the WWE is acknowledging its history. Last night, Damian Priest challenged Edge to a match in Toronto, reminding the fans it's been 12 years since Edge wrestled there. Later, Bayley trash-talked Dana Brooke and Tamina about entering the women's tag team tournament, reminding Brooke and Tamina that she was the first tag champion. The announcers even brought up the history between The Miz and Bobby Lashley during Lashley's US title defense against Ciampa. Minute, well, not if you're a fan who's been watching wrestling and likes to feel there's a backstory to every episode and even every match. Number 3, it's still the Kevin Owens show. If the rumors of a renewed Kevin Owens push are true, KO made a strong statement last night by destroying Ezekiel, powerbombing his hapless foe onto the mat apron. Zeke's stretcher job helped convey Kevin Owens' renewed intensity, as did his promo later on when he told Kevin Patrick he knows more eyes are watching him and that this is the Kevin Owens show. Number 4, Rhea Ripley is evil. We're digging the new evil personified version of Rhea Ripley. While we're a bit concerned about what happened to her Raw Women's Championship match against Bianca Belair, she's being presented as perhaps the most dangerous member of the Judgment Day, as seen by her dragging a beat-up Dominic Mysterio out during Rey's match with Finn Balor, costing a distracted Rey the match. Number 5, a terrific tag match. Last night's first round match between the teams of Dana Brooke and Tamina and Dakota Kai and Io Sky was surprisingly good, not because fans weren't sure what to expect from Bayley's new buddies, but because Brooke and Tamina stepped up their game. Both teams looked good, but with Bayley helping the heels, the outcome was inevitable. Number 6, a touching tribute. Ciampa dedicated his US title challenge to mentor and trainer Harley Race was a great touching tribute and a terrific way of honouring Race, one of the territory era's greatest wrestlers. The hype video for the US Championship suggests that WWE isn't afraid to acknowledge wrestling history, whether it belongs to WWE or any other promotion besides AEW. Number 7, a real nail-biter. Last night's title defense by Bobby Lashley against Ciampa was a fantastic match that kept fans in suspense as to whether Ciampa could pull off a big win over the Almighty. The WWE kept fans guessing as The Miz provided interference, helping Ciampa dodge some close calls, and at the same time, Ciampa cut corners for some near falls, including ramming Lashley into the exposed turnbuckle corner and hitting his signature and finisher maneuver. Ciampa didn't win, but his performance could have been the start of something big, as he showed he can go toe-to-toe with a former world champion. Whether the WWE follows up with a push for Ciampa is on them, but Ciampa did everything he could to show just how much he can do in the ring. Number 8, adding a stipulation. WWE can't always avoid rematches, but last night's no DQ stipulation showed how to spice up a match fans have seen before, making this a must-see main event. They also used the stipulation to add Ciampa's interference to the match without having him to come up with an implausible way of showing the referee's obliviousness to the third-party assistance. And WWE's unexpected visitor. The post-match segment where WWE security escorted someone out of the arena after AJ's match was actually realistic and a shrewd strategy to send fans scrambling to watch the end of Raw and identify the mystery man. Some of these segments can be corny, but WWE actually pulled it off with this one. But that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, Dana Brooke can't talk. Dana Brooke's promo last night was awful, a reminder not everyone is good on the mic, and the awful dilemma facing poor talkers. Should the WWE give them the TV time to develop the gift of the gab and risk exposing their shortcomings, or throw them into the proverbial deep end of the pool and hope they stay afloat? While it's unlikely anyone expected Brooke and Tamina to win, Dana's delivery was so weak it took away from the pre-match hype. That was nothing downright ugly, as it was another exciting edition of Raw, with the WWE continuing to implement changes to the product such as longer matches, tighter timing so one segment flows seamlessly into another, build up for stuff for later in the show and the next few weeks' shows, and subtle teasers such as when the security ran past wrestlers backstage without the WWE revealing what was going on. And seriously, was there a car crash going on when Kevin Owens is getting interviewed? Raw can get wild sometimes. What do you guys think of the red brand this week? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Is there a big change for Clash at the Castle? Atop in today's news is a report concerning the Drew McIntyre vs Roman Reigns main event match at the upcoming Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales. If you've been keeping up with our news videos and articles on our website, you know that Karrion Kross's return and attack on Drew McIntyre has fueled rumours that Kross will be added to the match. This is buoyed by another rumour concerning Kross, that he'll defeat Reigns for one of his world titles so that Raw actually has a world title of its own. Meltzer discussed the situation on the Wrestling Observer Radio saying, "For Cardiff, it is still Roman and Drew and I was told that it's really not going to change. They feel that it really has to be the match." Our fans will have to wait and see whether this pans out, as the WWE wouldn't want to diminish any fan goodwill over the show, as some fans might see Kross's insertion into the match as taking away from Drew's moment in the sun. If the talk of Kross winning a world title plays out, who's to say that he can't defeat McIntyre for a title down the road? Next up, Triple H was unhappy with the Star's push. Speaking of Kross, news is emerging that Triple H was none too pleased with Vince McMahon's booking of the two-time NXT champion on the main roster. Well, imagine how Kross must have felt. Fightful Select reports that Kross made sure to keep Scarlett by his side during his appearances outside the WWE, and that Kross turned down AEW's offer to have him jobbed to Wardlow because Kross wanted to protect his image further. We believe Triple H feels he has unfinished business with a variety of NXT stars who either did not make it to the main roster under Vince or superstars who were underutilized by McMahon. If PW Insider's recent report that Kross is WWE's number 2 heel pans out, it's another sign that Triple H is doing things his way. Next up, another WWE star coming back. WWE's NXT Homecoming continued on Raw as former NXT superstar Dexter Lumis made a cameo at the end of the show. According to Fightful, the WWE was talking about bringing him back as soon as Triple H was appointed to run creative and named EVP of Talent Relations. But another name making the rounds is Johnny Gargano. Fightful Select reports that the WWE assigned Shawn Michaels to contact Johnny Wrestling, and if Gargano returns, can his wife Candice LeRae be far behind? Gargano recently commented on the possibility of a wrestling return but made it clear he's not going to discuss anything publicly until he actually returns, which only makes sense as why would you ruin such a big surprise? One interesting aspect of the story concerns the Way faction, which featured Gargano, LeRae, Austin Theory, Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell. Could there be some sort of reunion amongst the returning players? Next up, WWE adding violent content. If you saw last night's Raw, you noticed the red brand featured more violence, including blood, a rarity on TV until recently. First, Kevin Owens annihilated Ezekiel, powerbombing him on the mat apron and sending Elias, his younger brother, out of the arena on a gurney. Later, Rhea Ripley carried a beat-up and slightly bloodied Dominic Mysterio to the ring during Rey Mysterio's match with Finn Balor, another example that the WWE is dialing up the violence. Meltzer observed the change as well, noting on the Wrestling Observer Radio that Dominic Mysterio wasn't leaking blood, but the idea was it was blood. There was something very much like red on his face, which before it was something they'd shield away from. So it was something. It's not like they've done this on a regular basis and maybe it's a one-time thing, but I'm guessing they'll get more violent as far as some of the angles go. And while the days of the Crimson Mask on WWE television are likely gone, it's clear the WWE is willing to show that the squared circle is not without serious risks. And finally, the women's tag team tournament brackets are revealed. And last but not least, good news for the fans of the women's division as the WWE revealed a women's tag team tournament bracket before Raw, then kicked off the tournament with one of the first round matches. The WWE announced that the 8 teams will vie to fill the vacant women's tag team titles. There are some interesting teams arrayed for this tournament, a reminder of how weak the women's tag division is in terms of established teams. Nonetheless, the WWE surprised the fans with 2 tandems, starting with the recently returned Dakota Kai and Io Sky, as well as a surprise selection of NXT competitors Nikki's Alliance and Zoe Stark. There are what looks to be the usual sacrificial lambs in the teams of Dana Brooke and Tamina and Doudrop and Nikki Ash, but the WWE may throw in a surprise or two when it comes to wins. Kai and Sky defeated Dana Brooke and Tamina in a surprisingly competitive match, which suggests the WWE will use this to build up new teams. Our Wrestling News' Paul Davis brought up a scenario a number of fans and analysts have been throwing out as a possible finale to the tournament. It's expected that Banks and Naomi will be involved in some way. If they are not in the tournament, then they will be involved in a feud with whoever gets crowned as the new champions. What do you guys think of the bracket? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.